Today's episode is covering themes of love. Sometimes love doesn't always go as we intend and can be more negative than positive. So there will be themes throughout this podcast today, which may be triggering for some. Welcome back to another episode of ARU Reads Reddit. And this one is an extra special episode because it's about one of my favourite topics, love. So whether you're I don't know what the cool kids do this day. Is that right? This year?
Probably.
Yeah. We've got something for you, but the best thing about this podcast is we don't just love love, we also love puns. So we've called it Degrees of Attraction. And we have two very special guests joining us today. And if you could just do a quick introduction to yourself and we can get started with our lovely Reddit posts that we have.
Okay, so I'm Sophie and I'm a second year student at ARU Chelmsford, and I am doing social work.
And I'm Sharon Livermore, so I am a domestic abuse consultant working very closely with Anglia Ruskin University.
Amazing. So today, obviously, we're going to be talking about love and all the positive, healthy things around love and relationships. And just, want to hear your viewpoints on some of these posts that we found in the dark, deep web of Reddit. So the first post we've got today is, are long-term relationships possible in uni? Just got broken up with in the first year. Is there any hope? I know. I said I love love, but this is already breaking my heart. Debating whether we should even get back onto the dating scene or if it's worth it at this point in life. Any advice appreciated? There's a post after here, but just from the offset, I would love to know what your thoughts are on this. Like, someone just broken up at university, do they get back into the dating scene now?
It depends on how long the relationship was, I think. But also, you're at the first year of uni and everything's a bit mental in your first year. So it might be that your first one didn't work, but your second one will.
Yes.
Yeah, I think coming in on that, I think it's assessing that situation for yourself and kind of seeing how you feel after it, because there'll be people that come out of a relationship that have been in it for a certain amount of time, but they're ready to move on. So I would always say take the time to see how you feel. And if it feels right, then no one else should comment on whether it be a day that you meet someone new or a year or even longer than that. So I think you need to look at yourself and also think about the reasons why you want to be with someone, because it's so easy to kind of do it because everyone else is. But what's your need? What is the need that you want? Is it because you want companionship, or is it because you're trying to tick that box of, I've got a partner, shall we say? So that would be my advice, kind of take a step or some time to think about, are you ready? What are your reasons why? But I'm a big believer in trusting your gut. So if your gut is saying that's what you want to do, then as long as you're considering your own boundaries as well, then it's definitely worth, moving forward if that's what makes you happy.
No, definitely. I think it's one of those ones as well. Like, it's such a going to university in the first instance, making friends is one thing, trying to find the love of your life at the same time and just discovering who you are. So that's quite a huge thing, isn't it? Just kind of going out into that. Update. Thank you for the advice, everyone. It's already meant a lot and really helped me to be more positive. So after their update, they've put, I thought I would update for people looking for advice on the internet later down the line. The world did not end. I have plenty of other love interests, and I've realised that I'm at uni to enjoy life, not worry about whether I will find something or not. Life's too short to be sad for long. Thank you. And then there's someone who's posted after this saying, I got with my partner during my first year. It survived. We bought a place together in my third year and then moved away for a year to do a master's. We're still together. So that's really sweet that someone's commented about their own personal experiences and they've kind of seen a bit of a different side to that as well, that they've said here, the world didn't end and they're here to enjoy life at uni. I think that's so important, that prioritisation. Anything else to add on to that one?
I was just thinking, actually, I know someone who they got together at the first year of uni, then they broke up, and then after uni they got back together, and now they are married with 2 children. So
do they also have a cat?
Well. They have dogs.
I'm just looking back at my notes here because I have got just a little tie-in here. Somewhere on here, I have got a list of some of the amazing relationships that we have had at university. And one of them sounds exactly as you described. Just try and find it on here somewhere. Really prepared for this bit. oh yeah, they've got people here that stay together. Someone who broke up in 2016. You think that's going to go bad, but then they rekindled after long distance,
Yeah.
back together. And in 2021, they rekindled and have a cat together. So I'm getting the cat confused. But there is somebody else as well that they stayed together after graduation. One stayed in Cambridge and they did long distance for 6 months and have since been married with 2 daughters. Don't know if that's the same person or a different one.
No.
Oh, but there's so many love stories at ARU, and I think that's the great thing about it. You don't know who you're going to meet. It could be the
No.
love of your life. It could be your best friend forever. It could be your next boss. It could be someone you're going to employ in the future as well. There are so many possibilities at university, but that's so nice that you know someone that's done that.
Yeah, and if I come in on that bit, I think it is, you don't necessarily know if you're with the right person when you're younger, without sounding wrong, depending on obviously what age you are when you go to university. And I can use kind of my experience here. Now, I didn't go to university personally, but same kind of scenario. I met my now husband when I was 16. We were together for 18 months. We split up, we got back together 20 years later. So there is, it's not always the right time. And I think, but it might be the right person. But I, do believe that life has a path for us, and you do find that person again if they are the right person. But, there are so many, I don't know whether we call them success stories in relationships, but I've got friends that met at university and they're very happily married. I've got others that met, similar to what you said, split up and then have got back together. So I definitely think there is a positive, because you get to know people at university, don't you? You get to spend time, and relationships are built on connection. And building that connection is about, I personally believe, that in-person connection as well, which is really important to be able to establish a genuine relationship, which is why a lot of relationships do start university, or as you said, at work, in the future, because it's that space where you're in and you can...
You're going through something together, aren't you, as well? So, like, especially at uni, where you've got all the pressures and different things that are happening. It's quite a unique experience. So depending on what course you're on or what uni you're at. And I just think, you go through something like that, sort of, it almost builds your kind of foundation of your person. And then life happens, so you go away and kind of do it, and then but you come back because actually you are still that person and you've built all those, and it's kind of, that's my personal.
No, I love it. That's why I love love so much. I love hearing Valentine's Day, not so much, a bit too commercial for my liking, but love the rest of the year around, I'm all for, especially hearing people's love stories. So thank you for sharing that. So the next one, a little bit different compared to our previous posts that we read out. So this one is called, "Is it normal for my boyfriend to compete with me in uni?" So my 22-year-old boyfriend, they are 22 and their boyfriend's 21, is super academic and is working towards achieving his dream job. One part of that goal is maintaining a high distinction grade. We study the same degree and often study the same class at the same time. I notice that he purposefully keeps his exam resources away from me. For midterms, he won't share answers, even though we discuss questions together, to his full understanding. He won't share all of his notes written by others, not himself, from me, and that's not the problem. Don't get me wrong, I get it. He's a top-tier student. So I guess there's no logical incentive for him to work with me at all. But he is just so good to me the rest of the relationship that it's weird that he switches from boyfriend to student mode. Here's the problem. He said ideally I would not talk about uni assignments with him at all because he has nothing to gain from me. This really hurt me and made me question his selfishness. What if he carries forward this selfishness through to when we get married? I thought that a relationship was a partnership. I was honestly fine with a lack of full disclosure of information with me, like it makes sense. But him saying that he'd rather not talk to me about it at all because I'm useless was the hurtful part. It made me feel dumb and like a liability. Am I overreacting?
No. So I have to come straight in on that.
Jump straight in.
And say absolutely not. When you're in a relationship, it's about supporting each other, encouraging each other and compromising with each other. The way that person's described how they're feeling is not okay. And there is no reason why you wouldn't work together. I understand we have separate lives when we're in relationships, which is healthy too. But when you're on the same course and, that information can be really valuable to both, you should want your partner to do the best they can and be the best version of themselves. So I am kind of brutally honest with that. I think if you're in a relationship like that, then that isn't healthy, because it is about, like I say, again, support, respect, and not making that person feel any less of a person than they are. And for me, that's, I think it's quite a definitive line there. But obviously, feel free to come in on that.
I think personally as well, it sounds quite controlling. Like it's there's underlines of, well, actually, I'm not going to do this, therefore you might not be able to do this. It doesn't sit well with me at all. I think as I'm in a marriage, and in my relationship, I always want my partner to really succeed, and I want him to be happy, and I want, us to succeed as a partnership. So anything that goes great for one of us would go great for both of us. So why would we both not want to do great things together? It's just, that sits really uneasily with me. Especially the feeling, your feelings are valid as well. I think they're really, and that's really important to know that as well, that those, you feeling down, or kind of like you're almost excusing a little bit of some of those things, that some of his actions, there's excuses in there. And I think when you're having to excuse people's bad behavior, that again, that's a line there, I think.
And coming back in on that, when we're in a relationship that isn't healthy, it's about power and control. There is always different dynamics in a relationship, but from what I'm getting from that is that that individual wants that power. They want to do better, so they see it as a power and control thing. So they can say, well, actually, I did better than you. But that's not healthy. So that person wants that power and control over the other one. And you mentioned in there about, is this going to show into a marriage potentially? I would say there's definitely unhealthy traits there already. So my concern would be that as life develops, because there's different life situations, there's different life challenges that we all face, would that person support them, or would they try and be one up on them, which is, again, about having that power and control, which isn't healthy. So I would say to have a look at the relationship as a whole. And the fact that they're asking for advice means that they're already recognising that it isn't healthy. And that is a good thing that they are recognising that. But then you've got to have your boundaries and seek support and get advice from others to be able to get out of that relationship. Because it isn't necessarily going to be the one that is going to fulfil them for their life in a healthy way.
You used the word boundaries
Yes.
there. And I think boundaries are so important. And up until the part, obviously, where he's been quite mean with his words, and that doesn't sit comfortably at all. The part before that, the not sharing, is there any risk here that this person who's the poster has been pushing their partner's boundaries a bit too much as well? Or, at what point can you analyze a situation slightly differently, and wrong is wrong, but are there triggers there? Is it a bigger issue around their communication styles as well?
I think really valid point. The person that is trying to protect their work may have boundaries. I think that's mine. I've worked for it and this is me. I don't want to share it, which I do understand. We all have to work to get to places in our life, but with your partner, usually it is a partnership. So you would want, it's a different relationship to even a friend or a classmate that wants to take your work from you. You're in a relationship with that person. So therefore it's a different type of dynamic. That being said, if that person did feel that, well, you're not working and I'm doing all the work, as you say, it's a communication, explaining, well, I don't want to share this with you because you're expecting me to do all the work for us. And okay, then that's a conversation to be had, absolutely. But it sounds like the person there has been trying to. They're both studying, they're both doing the same course. So to me, it seems more like there is that kind of power and control. But absolutely, it is a conversation to be had, because it might be, like you say, that person is feeling a little bit used, if that's the right word, for their their work that they've put in themselves. But it's communication is key in these situations. But I'm seeing personally more red flags there than green, but it's always about finding all of the facts in these situations, as we know.
You know, I'd agree, definitely more red flags here. And I think the posters, like the responses to this post, people were like, leave him now, go. So one of the top posts that comments that replied to this was, I studied the same course as my ex and we would often study together. I was good in a subject he wasn't very good at, and he helped me a lot with another subject which I struggled with. It was nice and it really helped me. He sounds like, despite being a good student, he wants to make sure you don't have become the competition. And it sounds like he would enjoy you doing quite poorly just so he looks better and doesn't get threatened in his status. I think this is a major red flag, and that somebody wouldn't want to share their answers to help you just so they can stay on top. And I do agree with that a lot. I mean, I don't know if there's any other thoughts kind of around that post.
I think as well, I think the sort of statement that he said about, I'm not going to get anything from you, is really demeaning.
Horrible.
And it's kind of already, even if, well, we don't know what level she is of anything, because she's just assuming that she's a lot lower, and but I just think that by him saying that, he's setting a tone already, and he's setting a tone that is also potentially going into the future. So is he then trying to get the higher paid job that then means he has more control of money? There's if you look at it in that way, it might even be small steps, but escalating steps to having the control. And I think that statement is a really worrying statement. When you say something like that to someone, I think it's putting someone down. It's making them feel not good enough. And actually, it could also set a mental health thing going as well for her, and taking forward and not feeling good enough, even if they were to split up in other things because someone has said that. So
It's, to be honest, a form of emotional abuse as well.
Yeah.
So I know we are very limited on what we know about this because it's a very small area. But if we were to kind of unpick it, there is forms of emotional abuse in there. Like you say, it's taking down someone's confidence. And ultimately, if you're in a healthy relationship, because I know we spoke about red flags, but the green flag to that is when someone encourages you. And yes, we can't always be amazing at everything we do, but in a partnership, in a relationship, whatever type of relationship that is, it's about encouragement. So rather than pulling someone down and saying, well, you're not great at this, it's okay, well, how can we help you feel better with it? What can we do to support you with that? So I think what you said there is really, really valid. A lot of it does seem like there is potential for it to be the starting points of things that escalate in the future.
And how they react, if your boundaries are pushed and that's the reaction to it, like there's, it's definitely, I can see why a lot of people are saying leave. Another poster is put on here that almost every post says break up with him immediately kind of situation. But this one does look a bit more complicated, at least to me. You say he's great to you in every other aspect of the relationship. So honestly, I would talk to him about it. I have a few friends from high school and college that are top students, and they're really awesome people, but get very serious and sometimes rude during school work time. In my opinion, it doesn't make them bad people or undateable, but it can make me feel down sometimes when they get stressed out. When you talk to him, try to understand why he's so rigid about schoolwork and why he feels so competitive about it. Is there something from his childhood that set him up in this way? Does he feel like he needs to be a top student because of our competition in society? Or is there an academic program that he's especially competitive in? There's almost always some sort of psychological root behind behaviour like that. I really hope it works out for you. And I do agree, you can go digging for answers, but like you said quite early on, like your feelings are completely valid still. And good intentions can have bad outcomes. So even if he said something with the best intent, it's had a negative impact, and you can't really take away from that.
I think maybe, there is always an opportunity to communicate. As we know, not every relationship is perfect as well. That's something that we need to be aware of. But if she said to him, this is really making me feel undermined, you're taking my confidence away. And if he was to then say, I am so sorry, I did not realise that this is how you were feeling and I've not behaved appropriately, if that's the way you want to put it, and then doesn't do it again, then we can say that actually that person's listened and they're happy to change their behaviour. Because as you say, there might be different pressures. Doesn't make it okay, but if she wanted to give him an opportunity, but then if he did it again, then 100% it's a case of you are choosing, because power and control is about choice. But I do believe there are times that we can have a conversation and make people aware that the behaviour isn't right for them, and those changes can be made. But right now, without knowing if that was the case, I would be veering down more of the I see this as a concern right now.
Yeah.
No, thank you. I think that's really helpful to share that, because I think sometimes it's the smaller things that, we kind of just brush under the carpet until they accumulate, and then it's one big thing. So I think it's always wise to be on the side of caution. But like you said, like if the conversations have been had, if you've exhausted them, then you really need to look at the situation and kind of confide in other people and get the support you need. So this next post is called Uni Relationships After Graduation. Before I read it though, because this is about after graduating and thinking about the future, any students that are kind of in a situation like the post we read out earlier, who might be feeling like their relationship's not as healthy as it could be, are there places they can go, people they can talk to at ARU?
There are absolutely so many resources at ARU. The Wellbeing and Counselling Service is one of them. We have also services like I participate in, which is domestic abuse ambassadors. So we have a team that you can go and talk to. And the main thing I was going to say as well, when you're thinking about talking to them, and you're thinking, please don't worry, please don't be ashamed, please don't, even if you think it's just minute, it's worth like talking to them as well, because they are brilliant. They sort of wrap you in cotton wool, as I call it, so you don't fall through the net. But there's so many services. What would the
Yeah, I think adding on to that, the ARU Counselling and Wellbeing Services team are fantastic.
Yeah.
They are specialists as well. So there's people within that team, in the counselling team, that have been brought in specifically with knowledge around domestic abuse and sexual violence, and have worked in that space for a long time. So they understand the challenges, they understand the barriers, they understand that people may feel judged potentially. There's none of that. There's all these emotions that go with having that initial conversation. And as Sophie said, it isn't about that. It's giving you a safe space to come forward and just build up your knowledge so that you can understand and make those choices yourself. So nobody says to you, this is what you're going to do. It's about finding out information and making those informed decisions with the support of the team. So 100% ARU's Counselling and Wellbeing Services team. And as Sophie said, the Domestic Abuse Awareness Ambassadors, we have information on our stands as well about local support services. So there is resource out there, and there are people that are really well placed to have those conversations.
Imagine a fear for some people though is if they come to a service like that and report something, the escalation process and duty of like responsibilities that you might have. I'm assuming if someone comes along to you, your first point of call is not to pick up a call like the phone and report it or anything like that. It's about listening and understanding.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously we signpost to the counselling and wellbeing team because they are specialists in that area. There is always a duty of care to that individual, so safeguarding. And if there is a safeguarding situation, then yes, it would need to be escalated. For example, depending on the severity, if the police need to be involved, then that's when that confidentiality would need to be looked at, shall we say. But the majority of the time, it is a conversation where it doesn't need to be kind of brought with lots of people into that, because I do understand people are concerned what others will find out. But it is that there is a respect for the individual.
Yeah.
So it will be a case of if someone needs to know, it's that safeguarding point of view. Otherwise, it's very much working with the individual and helping build their confidence and the trust. But like I say, and I will say this a number of times, the team are fantastic. They are specialists in the area, so they know how someone is likely to be feeling as well, and are very respectful of that.
Yeah, they also will go, which is really important, go at your pace as well. So you're not, you can feel like, oh, I'd make this initial disclosure or something, and then you're kind of forced into this ball that carries on rolling like a big snowball, and kind of it's not like that at all. It will go at your pace. It can be as confidential as you need it to be. They won't sort of not, it will be a need to know basis only. So only those that you're speaking to that need to know. It won't be something that's then passed around or kind of. So I think that's really important, because I know that there can be quite a lot of shame or kind of a lot of, oh, I'm overreacting, or I'm, any of this, and that all these feelings come, which will stop people talking or just having that conversation. Like the person who did the post, having that conversation with someone to go, actually, does this sound? And actually sometimes you can soundboard with someone, and then you'll realise yourself what actually you need to do or steps that you need to take. But it's that soundboarding as well, so you've got someone to bounce off, and it's not just all in here. sort of going, which can be when it gets really hard, when it's just kept inside. And
I don't know if this has ever happened, but have you ever had someone come from the flip side and be the person that might have pushed it a bit too far, and they want to get some advice and help? Is that something?
So there's new legislation now within universities around working with the people that are being accused of the abuse as such. So there is an opportunity at that point when they're having a conversation to say, actually, my behaviour wasn't quite right and I've recognised that. And they will be obviously supported and given advice on that. It's, to be honest, it's very rare that you would get someone that would walk up to you and say, hey, look, I'm doing this. It's normally when it's brought to their attention that it's not okay. But I'm a big advocate that if somebody does recognise their behaviour isn't healthy and they haven't been the kindest person to others and they want to change, then we need to work with that individual, because every victim has a perpetrator. And if we can work with the perpetrators, then of course we have less victims. So yeah, I mean, I think if we can create spaces where people can come forward, we may get more, but it's going to be, and it always has been, an area where it's not commonplace, shall we say.
It's difficult. But I also think as well, the other thing as well is not always the person that's going through it. If you're a friend of someone who you think you're seeing things and you're not sure where to go, you can, or even if you're someone who's supporting someone who is going through something, then you can also get support yourself from the wellbeing service, because sometimes being that friend that is holding someone's hand can be really an emotional toll on yourself as well. So I think that's really important. If you think something's going on as well, to try and speak out, or go and speak to, especially the wellbeing service, reach out and have a conversation with them as well, because they might be able to tell you the steps that you could potentially take to help the person that you're perhaps seeing in it. And that's really important as well.
Thank you. So going back to this post then, uni relationships after graduation, they're out in the wild. It's kind of early to think about this, but I've been with my partner since the end of first year, 10 months together now. We are both in second year now and we have lots of fun together, but I'm worried how it will be when we both graduate, as we live 2 to 3 hours apart when we go back home. We both are still unsure of what we want to do career-wise, so that doesn't help. Anyone who's met their significant other at university, how did it go after graduation?
Well, I personally didn't, so I can't really comment. But what I would say from experiences of life experience, obviously I've been on this planet quite a while, so I've seen lots of people in different relationships. I think it can work. I think the dynamics of the relationship would change, because when you're in a university environment, you're very close to each other. You can see each other when you want to. So we know 2 to 3 hours apart, those dynamics in the relationship are going to change. And that's where you need to carry on with that communication and make sure both of your boundaries are respected as well, because there can be then insecurities coming in because you can't see each other all the time. But that doesn't mean you can then get that person to, every hour on the hour, for example, say where they are or what they're doing, or put trackers on things. It's not okay. But those things are the things that might start to change because of those potential insecurities that might be there because the dynamics are changing. So I absolutely think it can work. And I think it's about clear communication, understanding each other, being supportive, because there's probably going to be a lot of emotion. There's going to be a lot of upset because you can't see them. And if they're in love, that hurts, right? If you can't see someone you love. So it's understanding those dynamics and working with them. And I think if you do that, then you can have a very, very healthy long-term relationship that lasts forever. So that would be, I think, where I would come in on that.
I think as well, the couple that I know, they went to uni together, but they were opposite ends of the country when they left uni. And they sort of, I think it was like a reunion or something and it was very soon after. I think it was like 6 months after. And then they got back together, and one of them moved because actually for them, it was the right time. And also I think after uni as well, your careers could be anywhere. They're so, but you might actually find that it really works because you say your careers both might need to be in London, or you might need to be in a major city. I think you'll find your way. Honestly, I think if the love's there and kind of you can see a future, there's definitely potential for it forever for sure.
Oh no, I love that. And I think obviously there's gaps in study
Yeah.
as well. There's a good kind of test run. It's not too long. You're going to be reunited at the end of it. So it's a bit different in that regard, but you probably will get a feel for what those weeks apart might feel like, assuming that you haven't gone and stayed with them. That break might be quite healthy as well to kind of reevaluate and focus on yourself, see your friends and catch up with family and stuff like that. So yeah, it'd probably be really telling in that break, I think, of what's to come in the future.
Yeah, and I think it's managing expectation,
Yeah.
isn't it? Life is about managing expectation as a whole. So what do you expect that relationship to be like
Yeah.
when that time comes that you do go your separate ways for a bit, however long that is? What is the expectation of what that relationship's going to be like? So is it that one person thinks that you're going to see each other every weekend and then the other one's like, hey, no, I want to see my friends that I've not seen for years, but I still love you and I want it to work. But if you manage those expectations fairly early on and keep, again, communication going, but also respect each other's views and feelings, then it will work. Whereas, but the testing, like you say, having time apart, because there is quite long breaks.
Yeah.
Some at university, isn't there? At times, they can, I guess, really give you a feel of what it's going to be like and how it would work as well.
Yeah, and 10 months is quite a good time to kind of get to know someone as well. So hopefully they're still together. We've got some responses to this one. So I think it's best to stay in tune to what you want. If your partner is with you in your life and you find yourself happiest with them rather than without, then you'll stay where you're happy no matter what the trials may be. If you decide you want to move countries and they don't, then you'll make the decision then. If you don't know what path you want to take, there's no right choice. It's just different possibilities. Pursue the job you want, follow your dreams, bring your girlfriend with you if you're facing ahead together or if you're not. And that's okay anyway. Life doesn't end and you'll find happiness in whatever you possibly decide to make yours. Relationships a journey. This is getting very philosophical. You can keep that bit in. Relationships are journeys. Sometimes someone will stay with you for life. Other times only for a few months. It's no different to friendships in that sense. Just learn to enjoy it and don't think too far ahead. It will get in the way of enjoying what you have now and learning from what it presents to you. And they put, this is so sweet. Thank you so much. I'll keep this in mind. I appreciate the advice. And it is lovely advice. And I think we all change and go through different phases of our own growth as well. So it's sometimes not just even the distance. It's going to be lots of different trials that might come their way in the future. Lots of different things that will come up. So, I mean, distance might be the smallest of their hurdles. It might be the biggest. And if they can overcome that, I'm sure it's kind of quite telling for a positive relationship. Is there anything else you wanted to add at all?
No, I think just absolutely echoing what you've just said there. The distance isn't always, people always focus on the distance, but actually lives change. People's journeys are different sometimes, and what your path in your mind you think is what's going to happen. Life challenges come at you and your journey does change. Either through something that you've chosen or something that's unexpected that happens. So I think embracing that journey and being true to yourself and respectful of others on that journey means that you will always be on that path that hopefully is the best it can be.
Yeah, I think like you were saying before, communication is really important. I think just keeping the talking open and kind of healthy communication as well. So
yeah, I think that's been really insightful. Everything you've said today, and I've taken away a lot as well. Like, I mean, me and my husband bicker like there's no tomorrow. Sometimes I'm very stubborn, but I think that's natural, and I know how that makes me feel, and I know how that makes him feel, and it's never pushing beyond that, and understanding that it happens in relationships and where the line is. And I think that's something that I think everyone can take away from listening to this, that healthy love is the best kind of love out there. And sometimes you have to kiss a lot of frogs to find the right one. Actually, I think that's an insult to frogs if I compared them to the frogs I've been kissing before. But sometimes that's just one of those things in life. But hopefully people will take some really positive love stories away from this. So thank you very much for sharing.